Did you know that the word is said 35 times in this movie?
They really made up for that R rating.
If
Go
you
big or
got
go home.
if you got it, use it. Welcome to Tairimo Boys podcast. I'm your host Cody. With me in second chair is the boy who lost his regenerative powers to Twinkie poisoning. It's Jeremy.
What a horrible way to lose powers.
Gotta cut down on the snacks.
You're telling me.
With me in third chair is the boy who prefers to turn all of his problems into ribbons. It's Ryan.
Up.
With Deadpool 3, or I guess Deadpool and Wolverine coming out next month, Jeremy suggested that we go back in time and watch I guess it would be the last X-Men movie of Logan.
Yep, technically Wolverine 3.
Honestly, I can't keep track of the whole timeline and everything.
It's hard to do. The
It-
Marvel Cinematic Universe is pretty fucked up.
yeah. And I remembered watching this, that we went and watched that, I think it was Days of Future Past together, all three of us.
Oh yeah, we did see that one together, didn't we?
Yeah, I don't even remember a damn thing about that movie.
Very little. Ryan, do
I
you remember
do.
anything?
It,
Yeah?
it fixed X-Men 3.
I need to rewatch it now.
But anyways, Logan, the R-rated hero movie starring Wolverine. It's 137 minutes long. It was a commercial success, and audiences love it. When you get to the older X-Men movies, they can be kind of wishy-washy with people, but this one, 8.1 on IMDb. So, Jeremy, what were your first thoughts on this movie?
Third greatest movie of all time.
Are you doing the Ryan thing?
I'm doing the Ryan thing.
Okay.
Except this is really up there for me. This is one of my absolute favorite movies ever. For so many reasons.
For perspective, what's 1 and 2?
1 and 2, it's based off of one of my favorite comic book characters of all time. Love Wolverine. And 2, this is a tough one. It either be between how well the story was done or actually seeing what was supposed to be one of my heroes growing up was Hugh Jackman, watching him play the Wolverine, watching like a great finish to the series. Or to the character, rather.
I think you misunderstood my question.
I
Well,
totally did. Oh, the other, my favorites.
yes.
I'll take a guess.
It's Deadpool 1 and maybe Winter Soldier for number 2.
Whew, yes. So, yeah, it is. It's Deadpool 1 and 2, and then Logan. Winter Soldier's just after that.
So it's your top 2 movie. Okay.
Yes. Now that we got that straightened out.
All right. Ryan, first thoughts?
I'm not going to do the Ryan thing. I'll do the honest thing. I wanted to say this might be my favorite comic book movie of all time. Maybe.
The Dark. What
Hard to
about,
let go of Batman.
yeah, what about The Dark Knight?
Yeah, it's hard. Whew.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough, but I got to go with Logan.
Okay, well, we'll discuss it more when we get to the scale.
We're already rating it.
Well, good night, folks. But
Bring that motherfucker out.
anyways, this was the very first time I've seen this movie and didn't really much care for the other X-Men movies. And the other
Origins
time,
was good.
well, Jeremy, if you remember for the one in Japan, I think it was the Wolverine and Days of Future
Wolverine.
Past, you guys had to drag me along in order to get me to go.
Yes. Yep.
But this is another one of those movies where I kind of wish I would have seen it sooner because it was a really good movie.
Yes, sir. Was there on day one. Now that I mentioned that being day one, Ryan, what was your theater experience like for Logan?
It was late at night. I went to a really late showing with my girl, and there was actually there was quite a few people there. I wanted to go. Well, never mind. We'll save that for later. Yeah, there's quite a few people there, and it was an interesting experience. I'll just leave it at that for now.
That's the best way to put it. I myself it was a full house at my theater, and it was one of the most interesting experiences I've had in the theater.
Ryan, was this opening day?
Yeah, it was like 3 weeks after it opened, I think.
I don't know where you guys are getting like all these numbers. Like I always go opening week to these damn things at like 9, 10 o'clock at night, and there's only like 3 or 4 people in the theater.
Oh, not for this one. I went opening week,
Yeah.
and it was packed.
Except for Barbie, that was a different story. 10 o'clock at night, and that thing was the place freaking crowded. Now, Jeremy, what do you love about this movie?
Jesus, what don't I love about this movie is a better question. It is an amazing adaptation of a story. Fun fact for you guys: it is very, very, very loosely based off the Old Man Logan, the comic book series. If you guys are not familiar with it, there's a few similarities in the world that they've built in Logan, but pretty much the only thing that's spot on is that he's freaking old. Other than that, it's a complete own adaptation. I love the violence; it's over the top. I love the aggression that we get, and I'd love to see how dark a Marvel universe would be in a situation like this. I wouldn't even know where to begin. Past that,
Yeah, I agree with you. Really think R-rated is where the not DC, Marvel universe needs to go. Because they've hit it out of the park with this movie and uh, the whole Deadpool franchise.
yep, killed it. Pun intended.
I mean, you're not gonna have like an R-rated Captain America movie, but with like some of these more violent characters like Deadpool and Wolverine, it really makes sense to be in a R-rated movie.
100% agree.
Ryan, what does it? What about you? What makes this a good movie?
Well, been a giant Wolverine fan since X-Men the Animated Series back in '92. I love that they moved it to rated R so that they could fully show the violence, Wolverine's berserker rage from the comics, because as we all know, I'm a giant comic book nerd. I love that it's not like a whiz bang comic book movie, that they melded like comic book and a western into it. So it just feels less like a comic book movie and more like a film. And finally, there's something that happens in this movie that I'm sure we'll talk about later that is earned and done correctly.
Ah, yes.
There's gonna be major spoilers if you're unaware of this movie. We are gonna be talking about that because it's gotta be addressed. I agree with both of these boys. This movie, it's just so badass. We get to see like the ultimate end game for really the X-Men universe, where it feels like we're at the end of the line and stakes are high. Jeremy, you've probably noticed this. I don't know about you, Ryan, but it seems like in the Wolverine movies, they got to get rid of Wolverine's regeneration in order to have some stakes in it.
Oh, they have to.
Because that was also the big plot point in the Wolverine.
Now, before I mention anything else about the Old Man Logan series, Ryan, are you familiar with the comic book at all?
I've heard of it, thumbed through it at Barnes and Noble, never bought it though.
Okay. I have another fun fact, a
I
little
didn't
bit
know there
further
was a
down.
reference to it in the Deadpool trailer.
Yes, yes, there is.
Hold on, what was the reference?
Giant Ant-Man head. What's it called? Pimp Falls?
Oh yeah, I think he called it that, and he made a joke about it too.
Yeah.
Something about Paul Rudd actually finally aging. Ryan Reynolds made that joke. Yeah, so pretty much all superheroes are dead in Old Man Logan, the series. One thing I wanted to mention, which you guys are familiar with, the part where they mention Xavier was kind of like the downfall. They mentioned an incident. Well, that incident in the movie Logan is what wiped out most of the X Men, if not all of them. In the Old Man Logan series, it was actually Wolverine that killed off the X Men because he was brainwashed by Mysterio, or his mind was fucked with by Mysterio.
Like the Spider-Man
Tried to
villain?
use that argument.
Yes, sir. It is
Yep.
the Spider-Man villain.
It's kind of anticlimactic. Really
Well,
not.
it leads it into like a very apocalyptic future when there's no heroes to govern anything. So it turns out pretty good.
Well, I mean, you'd think it'd be more. I'm not gonna say Mysterio ain't a serious villain, but you'd think it'd be more like a Green Goblin or someone with a little bit more clout.
That was my fun facts for the moment.
And just branching off of that, I do have to give the movie a little bit of criticism. There were points in the movie where I felt completely lost because, like, I don't remember any of the older movies, and it may have not been explained.
Mm,
I mean, they are constantly referring to the whole explosion thing that Xavier did. I was like, did I miss something?
that was clearly an adaptation just for the movie. So no, you did not.
Okay, okay.
Like I said, the ones that killed the X-Men was actually Wolverine.
Did you at least have fun watching Patrick Stewart act like a senile old man on his deathbed all movie?
Oh my God, yes! When he was quoting like the Taco Bell commercial. First of all, I was hungry for a quesalupa again. Second of all, it was a great scene.
Third of all, I went and watched the Kung Pao clip where they sung the Taco Bell song.
I want some Taco Bell now. Bring back the quesalupas.
But yeah, they made Professor X, his character, feel like really realistic for what they were going for in the movie. With he's having seizures, and those seizures are having like huge like psychic impulses or some other. They're having like huge psychic effects. That gets into my favorite scene, which is whenever like he's having one of his seizures, and you have all the armed men breaking into the casino, and Wolverine has to go and like stick his claws in the walls just to move, and he's slowly killing like the guys 1-on-1.
You see their eyes move towards them as about they're about to get stabbed and they can't do
Yeah,
anything about it.
I love that. It's like, oh shit, I'm.
Second favorite scene. That is my second favorite scene.
What was your first one, Jeremy?
Ooh, the woods scene towards the end when Wolverine goes full berserker rage. I felt that. I actually watched this before I went to the gym yesterday. I didn't even have my earbuds because they died on me. That scene was playing in my head and I was so pumped up by it. I still got a good lift in.
All the fight scenes in this movie are like really good, and they do get your adrenaline going.
I even got the nerd chills again hearing the berserker rage when you hear Logan yelling in the woods and he just goes crazy. Nerd chills.
And I remember watching the scene where him and that farmer are like fixing the water pump, and those armed corporate guys show up. Like my just bloodlust went off the charts. Like slaughter them, slaughter them.
Get those crazy CEO guys.
No, well, actually, maybe. Well, this crazy
One of them.
CEO guy is
One was
Umbrella. Yes, it's an Umbrella term. Well,
inside joke.
what about you, Ryan? What was your favorite scene?
Ooh, that's another toughie. I'm gonna go with fight at the smelting facility. Smelting facility, right?
It was either that or some kind of processing or mind thing. But
Yeah.
that ranks really high up on there. I knew
Oh
we
yeah,
were all
Yeah.
gonna go over fight scenes.
you have to in this movie.
Yeah. That and I'm gonna leave it there for now.
I am gonna mention an additional scene for anyone unaware of the movie. Basically, at the start of it, Logan's trying to live a normal life now that like all the mutants are gone, and he's a limo driver. So he has to drive a whole bunch of people that pay him around. So Jeremy, you know what time it is?
I've been waiting for this.
It's time for Boop Bonanza.
Yay!
Jeremy, what'd you think about those boobs that the party girl flashed Logan while she was in the car?
10 out of 10.
Ryan,
10 out of 10.
I'm gonna rank 11 out of 10. Those are pretty nice titties. If I was Logan, I would
Yeah.
have pulled the car over and stuck my face in between them.
Well said.
That was another Boop Bonanza. All right, taking a detour from Boop Bonanza. What did everyone think about X-23, Laura?
I love seeing her on the big screen. I'm familiar with the character a wee bit. Didn't read too many of the comics with her involved in it, but I thought it was a really good tie-in with Logan's story.
Well, I forgot to shout her out during the beginning portion when I was listing all the stuff I loved about the movie. Big fan. She, great child actress too. She came through.
Yeah, she killed it. She killed
And
that part.
unintended.
Definitely intended.
And there's a couple of things she does, especially in that smelting fight scene. At least there's one thing she does that's kind of ridiculous. But I once again refer to that as a female character done correctly.
I think I've said it before, but they can really screw up child characters, especially whenever it comes to acting. But the girl who played Laura, this was actually her premiere role, and she doesn't talk very much till like the end of the movie, but she plays the character perfectly. She gives off like the Wolverine vibe of just being like angry all the time and screaming just perfectly. And Ryan, the thing you're complaining about is her throwing like all the guys around, right?
Yeah, when she climbs up on that one guy and wraps her leg around the guy's head, who's like 400 pounds of pure muscle.
I kind of thought about that. It's like, they gave the kids like military training, and since they're making like the X number series with all the Wolverines, like maybe they did something more with her. But
Yeah.
it's a disbelief thing I can believe. Like I'm
Yeah.
not gonna be a nitpicking boy here today on that.
Also, as a slight detour, I also forgot until just now, my other favorite scene. You said that she starts talking toward the end of the movie. My other favorite scene is the first time she starts talking and Wolverine gets pissed at her and then immediately gets pissed at her and tells her to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes too.
You know the word is said 35 times in this movie.
They really made up for that R rating.
Go big or go
If
home.
you got it, use it. Something else I liked in the movie was how they kind of integrated like the X-Men comics into the movie.
Agreed.
I don't think any of them were seeing any kind of residuals for that.
No, it didn't look like it, did it? But yes, Cody, I agree with that. Like seeing all the like the memorabilia and then how they built it into the universe. And Logan describes it as nothing more than fairy tales. That was like, I don't know. It was nice to see those pieces of memorabilia, but it's also nice to hear like Logan say that shit. Like it just worked really well in this like darker movie. Like, oh, these are nothing but glorified fairy tales. It's not real.
Now, here's your little fun fact. If you're unaware, originally they planned for Sabretooth to be in the movie. At one point, they kind of thought about having him be the villain, but the director didn't want to do that because there would have had to been a whole bunch of character development on why he was there. Then another time, they were planning on using him as like a character that was running like some underground mutant railroad, but they just cut the whole thing out completely. They didn't want too many member berries in the movie.
Well, good, because this movie was damn near perfect. Whatever they did in this movie, this is what I want to see more of.
And you know what I really realized with this movie? It would suck to have like claws as weapons. They'd shoot through your skin and hurt you, and it would cause so much like self damage to yourself just swinging those things around.
I think he'd be badass,
Actually says
especially if
that
you
in
have
the first X-Men
regeneration.
movie. He actually says that in the first X-Men movie.
Does
It
it?
hurts every time they pop out.
I know he's mentioned it a few times, and throughout the movie you could see the wounds aren't healing up now, and someone mentions like, oh, you got these pus filled wounds. I think it was Caliban that said that.
I'd love to have Wolvie's powers.
I'll take the regeneration. I won't take the claws.
I'd even take the claws and the adamantium if it wouldn't poison me. I don't want to live a couple hundred years just to get poisoned.
That's when you cut down the Twinkies.
Or just drink more green juice. Mutant steroids.
So, got to address the elephant in the room. The ending to this movie. I've already mentioned there's going to be
What
major
happens?
spoilers in this thing. But for anyone who doesn't know, as we've already mentioned, Logan, he doesn't have his regenerative powers anymore, and Final Fights, he's basically fighting a younger clone of himself with his regenerative powers. And of course, he ends up getting grabbed and impaled upon a fallen log.
Ah, it hurts. Hurts to see a hero go out.
And of course, there is no after credit scene after they bury him.
Sam Jackson doesn't show up.
They end it rather quickly, don't they? They wanted that to be the focal point. I gotta say though, yeah, okay, so yes, he does get killed. However, he did get the leg up on X-24 a couple times. Like he didn't go down just like, oh, I'm gonna get my ass beat the whole time. He still kicks some ass.
Yeah, he was fighting to the death there. But he clearly had the disadvantage. I kind of figured out right away. Like that thing's gonna get killed by the adamantium bullet. The foreshadowing is less of a shadow and more like a light bright.
Like, oh, I see what's happening here. So this is what I was gonna mention about my theater is how it was so interesting. This is the most emotional I've ever seen a theater. Everybody in the theater was sniffling after that stage. God damn it, it even hit me in the feels.
When I was talking earlier about my theater experience, I wanted to go opening weekend because I had a feeling I knew how this was gonna go. And I wanted to hear if people were gonna sniffle.
Oh, they were
And
sniffling.
unfortunately I didn't hear anything because it was 3 weeks in.
Yeah, I've never heard that from a whole theater. It was a pretty unique experience, but it's well justified and earned with this movie.
You know what I remember hearing whenever when we watched the first Hobbit movie together and the movie suddenly ended right after the Eagles. Everyone was like, "What the?" I thought that you boys remember
Eagles?
that.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Ryan had to explain to us like, oh yeah, they divided this up into multiple parts. But anyways, another thing I forgot to mention: this movie was a huge success Budget on it was 97 million. Well, it was between 97 million and 127 million. It made 619.2 million.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of a high budget, but an important thing that they did was they used a lot of practical effects, and that always makes a movie seem more realistic.
A lot of money they made. They should get Hugh Jackman to come back.
I knew this was coming for years. I knew it. There's no way, no way he could say no to Ryan Reynolds.
I have to ask the question now, Jeremy. How do you think they're gonna handle Wolverine coming back? Like the reason? Are they gonna address like Logan?
They'll probably address Logan, but it's gonna be a multiverse thing.
Ryan, your thoughts?
Agreed. I agree with Jeremy.
They casually mentioned it, something like that about, oh, this Wolverine didn't save his people, or this Wolverine didn't save something. So, almost guaranteed it's gonna be multiverse.
I'm putting it on 70% multiverse, 20% a younger version before Logan, and 10% we'll get a scene where Logan pulls himself out of that grave.
Marvel zombie style.
Oh, like his regenerative powers started working for some reason.
They just needed a break, some time off, a little vacation.
Honestly, I think that'd probably be the funniest option since it's going to be a Deadpool movie. All right, Jeremy, pass topic on to you.
What do you guys think of Caliban?
I'm not too familiar with the character, but I gotta say, like, why the hell is an albino in the middle of like the Mexican desert? It's not so much albino as he's almost like a freaking vampire where he's burning alive as soon as he gets thrown into the sun.
That would technically have to be with his like redemption arc.
Yeah, I mean that's what he ultimately does is sacrifices himself. He hasn't accomplished anything, but
Still badass.
yeah, it was badass. But he shouldn't have even said anything after he pulled the grenades. He probably would have taken the villains out with him.
Beware the light. Oh, by the way, the light kills me.
I think
Ryan, what you
it's
think?
more the shrapnel.
I also am not too familiar with Caliban. I know he was in X-Men Dark, no, not Dark Phoenix, X-Men Apocalypse, played by a different actor. But I liked this version a lot. Made me chuckle a couple times.
Need some Dan sunscreen.
Yeah.
That's all I got for the moment.
Ryan, pass the topic on to you.
Are we going to talk about the other major death in this movie?
We just talked about Caliban, but yeah, okay, let's talk about it. Professor X's death.
Whew. Hard hitter. Hard hitter. This one also got me in the feels.
I didn't expect them to kill him, and that really surprised me. But they handled it like really well, especially where he originally thinks that Logan killed him. Like I thought it was just gonna be a dream whenever he got the claws through the chest, but nope, turned out to be real. But it was like handled really well. Like all the deaths they do in this movie are handled really well.
Yes, they were.
That was also one of my other favorite scenes is when he buries.
I
When he
like
gets
that.
emotional.
Excellent.
Ooh.
Yeah, I love whenever he's guy has the shovel and he starts smashing his truck.
I love that scene so much.
Yeah, I remember now. At the start, you were talking about how they treated like all the deaths really well, Ryan.
Yeah.
Hollywood, take note. This is how you treat a character.
This is how you kill off the good guys.
Hold on. On that subject, Ryan, would you prefer to Indiana Jones to be wiped out of existence now, thinking about it?
Claws through the chest.
No, like out of time, like it was supposed to happen.
No, I'm still going with no for that one.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Ryan?
Still throw my little temper tantrum about that. No, I think that's it.
All right, Jeremy. Final thoughts.
Changing my scale a little bit. Sorry. Second greatest movie of all time. In between Deadpool 1 and 2. Love this movie so much. Was one of the greatest theater experiences I've ever had. And I could easily rewatch this anytime, any day.
Ryan, final thoughts.
One of the best comic movies I've ever seen. I don't know if I could rewatch it a lot because some of it is sad, but it's a good kind of sad. Still a great movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo these boys. Well, specifically Ryan. Like this isn't a movie I can keep on watching, but it's certainly a good movie, especially with Deadpool 3 coming out here soon. I recommend watching it if you haven't yet, and probably also watch two Deadpool movies to get caught up on that. Yep, definitely the best of the old X-Men movies.
Easily.
All right, now time to circle back around. Jeremy, it's scaling time. Oh,
Let's do it.
actually, it's boys in action time. All right, Jeremy,
Ooh.
before we scale this, if you were in this movie, where would you die?
When the chick flashed her tits and I was driving her, I passed out and crashed. took us all out by accident.
Fair enough. Ryan?
When he gets in the very beginning, when he gets in the fight, trying to protect the limo, and that guy just takes the shotgun and just casually points it at him and shoots him. That's where I'd go.
I'm going to have to disagree with Ryan on that one. Wolverine still has some of his regenerative powers then. What would have happened
Wait,
is...
do I have regenerative powers in this hypothetical?
Yeah, you're Wolverine.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I misunderstood then.
Do you need a do-over?
Yeah.
Do overtime.
You know what? I'm gonna flatter myself. I make it to the very end.
I'm so proud of you.
You've got the skill then, Ryan. Okay, now for me. I'm going to go with what Ryan originally said, but I would have lasted like maybe a minute into that fight. Do you remember the part where Logan's on the ground and they're beating him, and then one of the guys goes to put a shotgun up to his head, but doesn't pull the trigger? He would have pulled the trigger on me that time. It's blown my brains out. No amount of green stuff would have saved me. All right, now Jeremy, now it's time to scale this puppy.
Yes.
All right, today's scale is another superhero scale. We're gonna have some DC versus Marvel here.
Oh, great.
So Jeremy, on a scale of The Dark Knight to Morbius, where would you rank this?
Oof. To Morbius. First of all, I still haven't even seen that movie, but I've heard the things. I don't need to see the movie. Putting it up against Dark Knight is really tough. I'm gonna put a notch above Dark Knight.
Yeah. It's Morbin time.
I wanted to say it.
We all know it's Morbin time now.
All right, Ryan, you spoiled everything. Just give your scale.
I'm gonna put it right now. I'm gonna put it shoulder to shoulder with Dark Knight.
As for me, I'm gonna put it a tiny bit under Dark Knight. The theater experience these boys are talking about, I had it while I was watching Dark Knight. You can go listen to our Dark Knight review for that one. But I've always been a bigger fan of DC than Marvel. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening to another episode of Tairimo Boys Podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, telling us how much you love Wolverine. And don't forget to ring that motherfucking bell. Stay tuned for more episodes.